Good evening and welcome to News Review. There was a lower turnout at the 2014 European election than in 2009. A total of 7,323 votes were cast locally. This represents 32.9% of the electorate compared to 35.1% 5 years ago.
Gibraltar went to the polls today for the third time in a European election, voting for the 6 MEPs who will represent us as part of the southwest of England region. The turnout in 2004's election was just under 50%, with only 35% turning out for the last election in 2009. The Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister and Leader of the Opposition all voted this morning, as well as the sole Gibraltarian candidate, Lyanna Armstrong-Emery, who's standing for the Liberal Democrats. All were keen to encourage people to vote, despite any disenchantment some in Gibraltar may be feeling towards the EU.
Well, it's essential that people go out to vote in any election, but in particular in national elections and European elections. Remember that the European Union now has become a little bit like the United States of Europe, and there are laws emanating from the centre of Europe, from Brussels, which affect all our lives, which our Parliament also needs to make law for Gibraltar. And we fought very hard to get this vote because we said that the European Parliament was like a national parliament in Gibraltar in the way it influenced our lives. We saw Denise Matthews take this vote to Strasbourg with Michael Yamas. I was involved in that case, and we won after a long struggle. So we must now exercise that right to vote, even if we're disappointed with Europe. In fact, in particular, if we're disappointed with Europe, we must exercise our right to vote in order to influence Europe.
All European elections are important. We are sending representatives to the European Parliament to represent Gibraltar, to defend our interests and to fight our corner over there. Many of the issues we face are EU issues, the border controls, the designation of our waters, aviation issues. So obviously it is important, and Gibraltar should be represented by those who are going to fight for us and are going to stick up for our interests.
For Gibraltar itself, it really is very important that people come out to vote, because this has been a hard-fought, hard-won game for Gibraltar. I mean, you know, we have had to really fight very hard to obtain the right to vote. And for Gibraltar to be able to influence the United Kingdom, it has to show as well that our vote is going to make a difference in some small way. A large turnout here in Gibraltar, no doubt, allows us to be able to influence, even in a small way, you know, what happens in the United Kingdom. A very small turnout here. Well, people in the United Kingdom, politicians might turn around and say, well, why would we bother if the turnout is very, very small here? So I think it is important that people in Gibraltar come out to vote for those reasons.
Gibraltar has an electorate of 22,265, amounting to just around 0.5% of the total vote for the southwest of England. So how much of an impact can Gibraltar really have in this election?
Well, this is one of the magic moments in proportional representation where that little 0.5% could influence one party having or not having an additional seat. So, however small our influence may be in the context of the constituency as a whole, and every Gibraltarian, I believe, would take the view that we should have our own MEP because our issues are very distinct and particular to Gibraltar. But given what the spread of MEPs around Europe is, at the moment we haven't been able to achieve that, and we vote as part of this larger constituency. Our 0.5% could seriously influence a party staying out in terms of having a seat in the southwest at all, or having more than one seat in the southwest, and that's the magic of proportional representation.
This is the whole point of having an election, and being able to vote, and this is what we fought for, and when we achieved it, I think that it was a big step forward, and we got to follow up on that by casting our vote.
Gibraltar has 0.5% of the vote of the southwest region. Do you feel that this is enough for Gibraltar to make its voice heard adequately?
Well, I think that the fact that we've had all these people coming over from UK representing the different parties demonstrates that they consider that the Gibraltar vote will have an impact on the elections. I think that in spite of the fact that we've got about 400,000 constituents in the southwest constituency, a few thousand votes can make a big difference.
The ballot papers handed out today have given the electorate a choice of 8 parties, each of whom has fielded a list of 6 candidates. The South West currently has 3 Conservative MEPs, 2 from UKIP and 1 Liberal Democrat. It remains to be seen whether this will still be the case when the votes from across Europe are counted on Sunday.
And the Governor, Sir James Dutton, was shown around the polling stations Thursday afternoon by returning officer Paul Martinez. It's the first time Sir James is taking part in an election in Gibraltar. Kellyanne Turnbull asked him what he thought of the experience.
Well, we've been round, I think this is the 8th polling station, really just to see the procedure and understand it, and to get a feel for how elections are run here and how many people are turning out. So it's been great. It's been a good education for me.
And in terms of the actual polling stations and the administration of the day, how well do you think it's been organised?
Well, it seems to have been organised extremely efficiently. It's volunteers. I think it's totally volunteers actually at each one, from various departments of government. People seem to enjoy doing it. It's slightly different. They're doing their bit for democracy and that sort of thing. It seems to be working very smoothly.
And in terms of voting, we haven't seen massive turnouts. But when it comes to exercising our right to vote, just how important is it that we do so?
I think it goes without saying that everybody should and must vote. Well, I can't say must vote. Everybody should vote. You have no right to complain about the result if you haven't taken part in the process.
And do you think the problems at the frontier will be influencing people's decisions today?
I don't see a connection. I really don't see a connection. I think problems at the border are influencing people's views on everything, but I don't see a connection with this election particularly.
But a shame that the majority of Gibraltarians aren't feeling the need or even the want to vote today.
Well, I think European elections, certainly in the UK, I have no previous experience of Gibraltar, but it looks to me from the figures I'm seeing at the moment, and I'm no expert on this, but I think historically there's going to be a higher percentage turnout here than there has been in the UK.
In other news this week, we found out Bishop Ralph Heskett will be leaving Gibraltar in the summer after being appointed Bishop of the Hallam Diocese in Sheffield. The appointment by Pope Francis was announced at midday on Tuesday.
Under direct appointment by Pope Francis, Bishop Ralph Heskett will be moving from Gibraltar and becoming Bishop of the Hallam Diocese in the UK within the next 2 months. Speaking at a press conference, Bishop Heskett was moved to tears at the prospect of leaving Gibraltar, describing the Rock as his home and the people of Gibraltar his extended family.
My first visit to Gibraltar was in 1981, and I think it's fair to say that I immediately fell in love with Gibraltar and its people. Today, 33 years on, I'm still in love with Gibraltar and its people. For nearly 30 years, I regarded Gibraltar as my second home. And then, to my great surprise and delight, in 2010, Gibraltar became my first home, and the people of Gibraltar, my extended family. I wouldn't get very far with this. Over the last almost 4 years now, I'm not going to be able to read this. Would you like to read it for me?
I've been very happy here and have experienced at first hand your warmth and affection, for which I shall be eternally grateful. Over the last 4 years, when I have been asked how long do you expect to be in Gibraltar, I have always replied, until they bury me in the crypt of the cathedral. And fully I believe that this would be the case, but alas, it is not to be.
The local clergy also issued a statement expressing their sorrow at seeing him go.
The clergy of the Diocese of Gibraltar would like to take this opportunity on the announcement by the Holy See of the appointment of Bishop Ralph Heskett as Bishop of Hallam, first of all to congratulate him on his appointment and to accompany him with our prayers and love. On taking over from... Are you reading?
Bishop Heskett quickly embarked on his ministry among the priests and people of the diocese with great pastoral skills. He swiftly developed a great bond with the local clergy and has truly become a pastor and a friend. the clergy would like to express to Bishop Rolfe their sorrow at seeing him go and assure him of their closeness in this awesome task that the Church has called him to undertake with their wholehearted support and prayers.
Bishop Heskett took over from the late Bishop Caruana just 4 years ago in 2010 and will now succeed Bishop John Rossthorne, who has resigned at the age of 77. The diocese comprises the whole of the city of Sheffield and the surrounding area. Bishop Rolfe will take up his new appointment in the summer, and there was no announcement regarding his successor.
And the Chief Minister said the departure of Ralph Heskett will leave a huge void in the hearts of Gibraltarians. Mr. Picardo says he's been touched by the news and describes Father Heskett as a great pastor and friend to many. The Royal Navy is increasing the number of sailors based permanently in Gibraltar. A spokesperson for the MOD locally said this is to allow the Navy patrol boats that challenge illegal incursions in Gibraltar waters to be operated 24 hours a day.
According to the Daily Express, senior Navy sources have confirmed the additional personnel will include eavesdropping specialists to meet the challenge of Spain's decision to allow Russian warships to refuel in Ceuta. The Express highlights a public commitment by Europe Minister David Lidington that Whitehall will rule out no option in upholding British sovereignty. The UK newspaper also claims the move's a firm sign that the UK government will no longer tolerate illegal Spanish incursions. The Express quotes opposition leader Danny Feetham, who says he'd have liked the Navy to send another vessel, even for only a short period of time. But, notwithstanding, it's very good and welcome news, and a clear sign that London is listening, says Mr Feetham. In response to GBC questions, however, an MOD spokesperson has played down the move, saying 5 sailors have been temporarily based here in recent months to ensure 24-hour cover. In June, these 5 personnel will be replaced by another 5 who will become permanent members of the Gibraltar Squadron that patrols British Gibraltar territorial waters and challenges illegal incursions.
The Leader of the Opposition has given notice of a motion that he proposes to move at next week's meeting of Parliament. Daniel Feetham will ask the House to call on the government to provide an immediate comprehensive statement as to its intentions in relation to the regulation of fishing in British Gibraltar territorial waters. Mr Feetham will also ask whether members of the La Línea and Algeciras cofradías will be required to apply for licences in Gibraltar in order to fish with nets in Gibraltar waters. The government will continue to support the eradication of colonialism and the role of the United Nations, however ineffectual the Special Committee continues to be. These were Joe Bossano's words as he addressed the committee in Fiji this week.
Mr Bossano, the Minister for International Investment, said the real Spain was the country that hadn't moved on from fascism and wouldn't allow the Catalans to hold a referendum, and not the country painting itself as a champion of decolonisation and respecter of human rights. Highlighting that Spain uses the fact that Gibraltar's constitution is an order in council to question its validity as a route towards full self-government, Mr Bossano pointed out that the same instrument had created the independence constitution for Fiji. He claimed Gibraltar would have been decolonised long ago if it wasn't for Spain's campaign to frustrate progress and deny the Gibraltarians their rights. Joe Bossano said he felt the real issue that should be discussed is the future of the peoples of the 17 territories awaiting delisting. It's only the presence of colonial people, he said, that brings a territory within the scope of the decolonization process, since it's the people who have the right to be decolonized and not the territory. Spain, he added, seeks the support of the UN, not to promote decolonization, but to reverse it. And instead of trying to increase Gibraltar's level of self-government in a move consistent with the eradication of colonialism, she wants to take it away and place Gibraltar under Madrid's alien domination. Mr. Bossano told the seminar that it was theoretically possible for Gibraltar to have a future in peaceful coexistence with Spain, but he said Spain would have to accept that in today's world, governments exist by and with the consent of the governed people and not by external imposition.